Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Sole Drop, and this is my performance review of the Nike GT Cut Academy. So this shoe is the budget model of the GT Cut 3. And it's kind of weird, you know, I've never seen a regular shoe without a signature athlete have a budget shoe. I can't really think of one, you know what I mean? So this shoe is actually really cheap. It comes in at $95, which is way cheaper, significantly cheaper than its premium shoe, and this shoe is 190 bucks. So basically almost $100 cheaper for the GT Cut Academy. So if you guys do want to cop, I try to leave the link in the description box for both of these shoes, right? But let's get it started right off with the Tracciones, and the traction is very similar, right? The overall pattern and how like the outsole is a little decoupled, right? It's not attached. It's two pieces for the outsole, right? Here in the forefoot, here in the heel, same thing here in the GT Cut 3. And the GT Cut Academy has freaking amazing traction, guys. I was very surprised. So we have this kind of like aggressive herringbone traction pattern, right? And like I said, the pattern is very similar to the GT Cut 3. However, the grooves are a lot closer together, right? So because of that, we have more surface area, right? Comparing it to the GT Cut 3, and it'll be better for outdoor use, right? So as far as the rubber hardness, it is a pretty hard rubber. The grooves are deep and thick, so you should be fine on an outdoor court, right? Which of course is a good thing because this is a cheaper shoe as well. But also if you're playing on a clean court, oh my gosh, guys, this shoe has freaking amazing bite as well. And it almost has better traction than the GT Cut 3. The GT Cut 3 is also top tier performance, right? But here in the GT Cut Academy, I was still very surprised. Amazing traction on a clean court. You really don't have to break it in that much either. Has really good traction pretty much right out the box, which I liked as well. So yeah, a top tier traction for a $95 shoe. That's crazy, right? If you're playing on a dusty court, however, it's not the best, right? So I was playing with this shoe, testing this shoe, as well as the GT Cut 3, the AE1, and some other shoes as well. And the GT Cut Academy was picking up a little bit more dust. I would say it was pretty good though. You know what I mean? It wasn't terrible comparing to all the shoes that I was testing with this, but it wasn't the best, right? The best I would say was like the AE1. It was still biting through dust really well. It wasn't picking up dust that much either. But here in the GT Cut Academy, right? So if you let a little too much dust pick up, it does slide around a little bit. Like I didn't slide out dangerously really at all. But it was a little bit more than the GT Cut 3 and some of the other shoes that I was playing in, right? So that is a little dangerous and that did suck. However, if you do keep up with your wipes and if you don't forget to wipe, you should be fine. You know what I mean? It is a very easy wipe as well. You just do 1 to 2 easy slight wipes and you have a clean outsole. So you don't really have to worry about that. Just, you know, like I said, if you forget to wipe or if you let a little too much dust pick up, it does slide out a little dangerously, right? So just be careful with that. But for the most part, I still had a good time because most of the time I did keep up with my wipes, right? So overall, the traction was really good, and it just probably picks up a little bit more dust than the GT Cut 3 because the grooves are a little bit closer together. That's just kind of like my theory, you know, because of the closer grooves, it might trap the dust and debris and dirt inside of these grooves a little bit more than the more spaced out kind of herringbone right here in the GT Cut 3. So anyways, there's that. And also another thing that I really liked about the GT Cut Academy is that it's freaking loud, guys. It has an amazing squeak. Very high pitched, very loud squeak. Now, it has nothing to do with performance, of course, but it's very loud, which I did like. And then moving on to the heel to toe transition, I really liked it because it's super smooth here in this shoe. So here in the heel, we have a pretty much fully exposed midsole, right? And also we have kind of like a rounded shape as well. So super smooth here in the heel. And then moving here into the forefoot, we have a very curved shape. Look at that. Super curved, so we have a nice rocking motion. And also we have a good amount of like forefoot flex, but also midfoot flex. Look at that. So torsion support, obviously not the best in this shoe. Most people don't really need it. You know, if you really need torsion support, obviously this isn't the best option. But for me, I was okay. I was good to go. I didn't really mind it all too much. And like I said, it's a very smooth feeling heel to toe transition, which of course I do like. I like a very smooth heel to toe transition. But in the GT Cut 3 is where I really noticed the kind of difference in price, right? Because it is still very flexible. It's capable of flexing a lot, right? But that's a very nice spring back. Look at that. So because of that, it felt a lot springier. I felt a little bit quicker like out of my first step and also doing heel dominant strides down the court versus kind of like the GT Cut Academy. So that did feel a little bit nicer, but the GT Cut Academy still felt very nice and smooth for the heel to toe transitions. So there's that. And now moving on to the cushioning setup. The cushion surprised the hell out of me. This cushioning setup is really nice for 95 bucks. For example, Nike, and they do this in a lot of their shoes, like their cheaper shoes, they have crappy cushion. And it obviously makes sense for business, you know. But that's the first thing that they kind of like cut out is a cushion for cheaper shoes. And once you get a little bit more expensive, better cushion is what they give us, right? But here in the GT Cut Academy, it's still pretty dang nice, right? So this foam is Renew foam, right? It doesn't say anywhere on the shoe that it's Renew, which is kind of weird. And also in the tech specs, it just says it's foam. But reading the tech specs for the GT Cut 3, which was weird, I don't know why it was in the tech specs for this shoe, it says that it's Renew foam for the GT Cut Academy, right? So we have pretty much full-length Renew foam, which Renew foam is pretty dang nice. It is very low density, so it doesn't add too much weight to the overall shoe. It's soft. It's not very springy though. It's not bouncy, you know. React and ZoomX is bouncy. Lunarlon and Renew foam is not super bouncy. It's more just soft, right? So this shoe has a lot of compression. It's soft here in the heel, which felt great. Also for impact protection, especially on heel strikes, I was good to go. And also court feels pretty dang good. It's not amazing. I would say it's pretty similar to the GT Cut 3, where it's like a little bit better than average for court feel. But also there is a zoom unit here in the forefoot. It's bottom loaded, so you don't really feel the zoom unit really at all. It has kind of like a trampoline effect a little bit, you know, because it is bottom loaded. You don't feel the compression right underneath your foot in the forefoot. So the cushioning setup is pretty dang nice. Also for step and comfort, it's not amazing, you know. We have a regular insole. It's not super plush or anything, and underneath that we have a very stiff strobel board. So you know, I wish Nike would start giving us like a soft mesh strobel board or something like that, or like a cutout or something. So step and comfort isn't the best, but overall like court feels good. It has a lot of compression here in the heel. Impact protection overall is adequate. So yeah, the cushioning setup in the Academy, especially for a guard, is really nice. Obviously, if you're looking for a lot of cushion, something super comfortable, has a lot of bounce and compression, this is not the best option. But this is the GT Cut Academy, right? And the GT Cut series is made for guards, someone who wants a very responsive shoe. So yeah, overall it's a very nice cushioning setup for that purpose. And now moving on to the upper, so we have a textile material, and I would say this material is better than the GT Cut 3. This is a $190 shoe, and look at this. It's like a felt, like crappy synthetic material. It does not feel nice, right? On foot though, it feels nice. And the same thing here in the GT Cut Academy. It's like this textile material. It's thin. It's overall pretty dang supportive. It conforms to your foot really well too. It reminds me of like the Precision 6. If you guys remember the Precision 6, it's a very cheap shoe as well. It's just like a nice textile material. We have a little bit of fuse here in the toe box, more on the medial side, and also on the lateral and medial sides of the shoe we have some kind of like stitching or some embroidered parts as well for extra support. For the tongue, we have an average amount of padding. It does feel kind of plush over the top of your foot. It's also half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And here in the ankle area, I would say it's like a very minimal amount of padding as well. It's not super plush. So overall, it's a really nice feeling upper on foot. You know, I really can't complain, especially for 95 bucks. And honestly, for me, I like the material better here in the GT Cut Academy compared to the GT Cut 3, right? Obviously, with like the synthetic materials here in the back of the shoe and for the tongue, it's super cheap, but overall, it does feel nice on foot. So there's that. Moving on to the fit, I went up half a size because a lot of Nike shoes have been running a lot shorter for me. So I've been going up half a size pretty much for all of my Nike shoes, and the GT Cut Academy fits me like a glove. It fits me perfectly, right? So my toes go really close to the edge of the shoe, surprising, right? So I would suggest most people go up half a size because of that. And also here in the toe box, it is really snug, which I do like, of course. I like a very snug fit. And also width-wise, I would say it is narrow, right? So pretty narrow fit. A little bit more relaxed than the GT Cut 3 because the GT Cut 3, I did go up half a size as well, and it is a little bit roomier. It's a little bit longer as well. So yeah, going up half a size for me was perfect. And if you do want a snug fit, I would suggest going up half a size. If you want a super duper snug fit, then go true to size, but just be careful with that. And if you have a wide foot or you want a really roomy fit, probably go up a full size, right? But for me, going up half a size, this shoe fits me extremely well. And also here in the midfoot area, it does get pretty narrow as well. So there is the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown, also not an issue for me, right? So lateral containment, here in the forefoot, we have a lateral counter, right? We have this rubber piece coming up, acting as a sidewall. So my foot was not coming out of the footbed here in the forefoot. Also here in the heel, we have an internal TPU heel counter. So lateral containment, I was good to go. My foot was not coming out of the footbed. And although this material is a little bit thinner, it still feels pretty dang supportive. So my foot wasn't really moving inside of the shoe really at all either. My foot felt locked into the shoe, especially once I tightened the laces, right? Also, I didn't experience any type of heel slippage or anything like that. And also we have a crazy wide base. You can see the outrigger here in the forefoot, you know, it protrudes out a good amount. It's very, very sharp. So keeping you laterally stable. So support and lockdown was really good for me, and I didn't have any issues with support or lockdown. And honestly, I feel like even if you are a bigger dude, it would still be adequate enough for you guys if you still want a lot of support. So there's that. Very, very surprising, right? And now moving on to the weight of the shoe, Renew Foam, like I said, is extremely light. I don't think Renew Foam is as light as ZoomX. ZoomX is extremely, extremely light. So let's check the GT Cut Academy. It still feels extremely light, right? So 10.7 ounces. It's actually lighter than the GT Cut 3, right? Let's check the other shoe. 10.65 ounces. And just for context, the GT Cut 3 is 10.9 ounces, right? So yeah, still an extremely light shoe. And if it breaks 10 ounces, it's an extremely light shoe for my size, right? So the average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So 10.7 ounces is extremely, extremely light. And this shoe feels really good on foot, right? It feels lightweight. It feels extremely minimal as well, not bulky at all. And also, I felt very quick when I was playing this shoe, like lightning fast, you know? I really didn't have to worry about the shoe, and that's kind of like what I want when I'm playing basketball, you know what I mean? So traction, phenomenal. Cushion, responsive, pretty low to the ground. It's still comfortable with the compression here in the heel. Upper, like I said, is very minimal. Support was good. My foot felt locked into the shoe, so I felt extremely fast when I was playing this, right? And now moving on to the ventilation. Ventilation is all right, you know. There's a little bit of airflow through this mesh, which is of course a good thing. So yeah, I would say the ventilation is good and even better than the GT Cut 3. You know, because there's not a whole lot of airflow through this, right? And now moving on to the aesthetics, I love it. This colorway looks great. It's just a very simple looking shoe, you know, with a Nike swoosh right over here in this quarter panel on the lateral side. They didn't do anything funky. No reverse swooshes. There's no swooshes on the toe box or whatever, you know what I mean? There's no mini swooshes or large swooshes. I just like how simple this shoe looks, right? So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up for $95, this is one of the best shoes for under $100. And there are a lot of nice shoes for around the $100 price point, you know. The AR1 is $100. The John 1 is like 110, 120 bucks. So yeah, but if you do want to save a little bit more money and still have amazing performance, the GT Cut Academy is an amazing shoe. And if you're a guard, you're gonna love this shoe. You're gonna feel extremely fast, you know? And also, if you're a bigger dude, I feel like you should be fine, you know? Like I said, probably not the best option because the cushion isn't like that amazing. But I still feel like it'll be pretty good for bigger dudes, you know? Support was adequate and stuff like that. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed playing in this shoe and it surprised the hell out of me because of its amazing, amazing performance. The only thing I would probably fix is maybe the dust performance, but also, like I said, it wasn't terrible. You know, I could work with it, you know? If I kept up with my wipes, it was still a good performer on the dusty settings. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed playing this shoe and I definitely recommend it to you guys. So that about concludes my review of the Nike GT Cut Academy. Again, if you guys do want to copy, try to leave the link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one.